Applications opening soon at Ubisoft Women Non-Binary Mentorship. We have an exciting opportunity to create inclusive entertainment that is truly reflective of our diverse world. Shoutouts to Band Into Comics for making the article and putting it on my radar. But if I told you this is nothing new, let alone it's been happening for years right under our noses, let me explain. Hi, I'm Rux15 and let's dive into this stupidity. The Ubisoft company is in quicksand right now, and this is what they are more focused on: human resources than making money right now. Another speedrun strat, your way to bankruptcy. Emotion over logic as always. So in order to be in the mentorship, what is the criteria? Identify as a woman or non-binary individual. Not born a woman, identify as one. Well, we all know how that went in a previous job fair.
Yesterday, it became clear that there are a far greater number of cisgender men attending than we anticipated. Simply put, some of you lied about your gender identity when you registered. And as evidenced by the stacks and stacks of resumes you were passing out, you did so because you thought that you could come here and take space to try to get a job. We need male allies. We need men who want to celebrate women, who want to work with and for women. And so...
Me? I'm here for the meeting? Hello, it's Ashley's only. Like, duh! Exactly, that's why I'm here. Ashley Grunler? But your name's not Ashley. Big as no. See? I've got my social security card, my school ID. What? But it can't be. Don't worry, Ashley Q. She still needs to be invited to join. And which one of us Ashleys is gonna do that? Well, perhaps Ashley S would be so kind. No, listen, Gretchen, you don't want... Yeah, sure, no problem. I, Ashley S, invite you, Ashley G, to be our new sister. Thanks, Badal. I mean, Ashley S. But... Whoa, Spiffy Diggs. What are you doing here? Ashley Detweiler? You're an Ashley?
That's right. Don't forget about us. Our names are all Ashley, too.
It's official. But you're not even girls. Hey, it's the 90s. Don't tell me you're all Ashleys! I invite you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. They're destroying our clubhouse! What are we gonna do? I know, we'll kick them out. Sorry, but it takes unanimous vote. And we kinda like it here. But...
18 and over, fair. Currently attend or have graduated in or after spring 2023. Yep, get them fresh from the indoctrination camp while they're young and dumb, and not been with the nuclear family for a long time. Have less than 2 years of personal experience in game design or programming in video games. Be legally entitled to work in the country where you are applying. Apply in only one location. Team entries will not be considered. For anyone that's in Toronto, must reside in Ontario. Are currently attending or have graduated from an Ontario post-secondary school no earlier than spring 2023. Over the years, the Develop at Ubisoft program attracted more than 1,560 applicants. We are proud to say that some of the program's winners have gone to become permanent members at Ubisoft, as well as mentors in the competition. Congrats for this year's mentees and mentors for the successful and inspiring edition of Develop at Ubisoft. So remember, some of those have become permanent employees. And what does Ubisoft look like now? Yep, overrun by women and no men in sight. But surely Ubisoft is succeeding. Nope, and never mind. So if they know it's not working financially, why are they still doing it? Remember what the great BlackRock and Vanguard CEO Larry Fink once said.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force change.
Yes, companies, you need to hire more women, have more diversity in genders and races. On the surface, what Larry is hoping is nothing but a dream. It's literally impossible. If the market says no by saying it's not financially stable, plus these demographics are not interested in those fields. So if that's the case, like he said, you have to force behaviors. Doing that, it's too obvious on what's going on. So what is the most sneaky tactic to force someone to behave in a certain way? But they themselves don't know it. Yep, you got it, indoctrination. But let's see if Ubisoft have learned anything in the past and their new development strat is making more money than the money they have lost before. Over the past few months, Anika Grant, Ubisoft's Chief People Officer, and Reishi Sika, Vice President Global Diversity, Inclusion and Accessibility, have been travelling to different Ubisoft studios throughout Europe to meet with teams, sharing their strategic roadmap for HR and diversity, inclusion and accessibility, DIA initiatives, and answering questions from team members. This roadshow will continue through the end of the year in Ubisoft's North American and Asian studios. What is a People Chief Officer and this long-winded title of a Global Diversity, Inclusion and Accessibility? Chief People Officer and this ridiculous useless title I'm not going to name again is another term for Diversity Officer. So someone who manages or may be responsible business partnering, operations, reward, benefits, talent and talent acquisition. So they're experts in making the most of smaller teams by assessing the business's priorities and assigning what is required from internal talent versus what can be outsourced. So this helps to ensure that the team is hardworking but not overstretched. So that's corporate code word for make the young ones stay in Ubisoft and not hire anybody else outside the company. Hey, you gotta keep the illusion that white straight males are the problem in video games, and you have to keep hold of those mentees at all costs. By hiring fresh but younger naive talent to indoctrinate and keep them in line for the DEI. But Wilkes 15, minus all the Bridge 2.0 and DEI, is a good strategy as you will lower the costings of using hiring networks or flat out not use them at all when hiring people. You can just hire internally, you might say. And I say, good eye. And I can see your brain is working. Then why do you need to hire, let alone pay these two individuals when you can get a manager in a department that can make a hiring post next to nothing, or even for free? So mix this together with this new mentorship and you have a toxic cult-like work environment and one that is dangerous for those who are born as women. So is it any wonder Ubisoft cannot change its spots and white men will always be barred out? Because your last community manager had done a really grand job of doing that. to make you lose even more money and to drive your audience away. When they say they are touring, it's corporate for making sure everyone falls in line with the DEI/Bridge 2.0 scheme and make sure everyone knows their place. But at the same time, they're vacating during work hours.
Nice.
So what's their focus on, you might ask, on this tour? Well, according to the interview that someone asked, these local studio visits have been an opportunity to discuss what your HR and DIA teams have been focusing on over the last several months. Where have you made the most progress? Ray Shishika says, great question. A lot has been keeping us busy. I share a few highlights. Gender equality has been a priority at Ubisoft for a while now, both in terms of increasing the representation of women in the organisation and supporting the development of women across different levels of leadership. Thanks to the great work of our talent acquisition teams and the investment of our HR leadership, women now represent 25% of our team leaders, up from 22% in 2020. A third of all hires over the last year were women. Additionally, we have 42% of women on our executive committee and 45% of women on our board at Ubisoft. Our efforts to better reach out to neurodiverse communities are evolving too. Last year, in partnership with HR, we created a dedicated neurodiversity program. This program is designed to help us recruit and support more neurodiverse talents so that Ubisoft will become the standard of neurodiverse inclusion at work in the coming years. Our global ERG leads meet with our CEO, Wyvis Guillemot, every quarter. This is a great forum for us to work together on areas of growth and progress, and for ERGs to share any potential concerns they have directly with Wyvis. I look forward to these quarterly meetings. Great discussions happen here. We launched Advancing Inclusion this year, a flagship diversity and inclusion training program for 2 key cohorts. Top leadership and HR leadership is an in-depth program with opportunities to learn key concepts, put theory into practice, and learn together and from each other. Oh, so video games and making awesome product are not the foreground anymore. That alone is not even the background. It's right in the little corner, while human resources are more important. So no wonder the games are utter dog shit and full of bugs. So really, they want DEI hires, not talent.
You have to force behaviors.
For those who haven't kept up, Project Rise back in September 2022 was Ubisoft's 5-year strategy to make the company more inclusive and diverse and non-stop sugar and rainbows. So I'll read these parts in the article and I'll explain it more. We know we have room for growth when it comes to the representation of racial, ethnic and cultural diversity, both within Ubisoft and the gaming industry at large, said Vice President of Global Diversity, Reishi Sika. With this in mind, we created a multi-year strategy called Project Rise to ensure that Ubisoft better reflects the diversity of our players, with a focus of racial, ethnic and cultural diversity. Over the course of the next 5 years, we'll focus on 3 key areas: talent acquisition, internal talent development, and external talent pipeline development. We know that different people experience life and the workplace differently. There are different opportunities and barriers that we will face. In the workplace, addressing barriers requires us to be specific, targeted and focusing our actions. An increasing number of entertainment companies have made diversity a growing focus in the recent years, including Take-Two Interactive, Disney, more. So all of this is code word for we want a sweet baby ink within our company. You heard it. So these mentors are training these mentees to be the next consultancy company within itself, and then you rinse and repeat for the next batch. So they're going to craft more Kim Belair's and Kiss Kindreds to make shitty games. It's a meme within itself at this point. It's like someone in the boardroom asks, how's this going to make us sell more games and make us more money? Reishi Sika replies back, games and make more money? ? So this is not teaching fresh meat on how video games are made and what the market wants, or look at past people who have made legendary games that sold in the millions and look at their legacies. Nope, HR's main goal is turning mentees into cult members. Got it. Hey, if you want people to eat the modern audience uglified slop, then you have to create an audience within. And what better than a company themselves to do that? So if people ask, why do they want graduates and not just people who have the passion and the drive for it? Well, because graduates have been in safety bubbles and they've been told these progressive lies and DEI lies all those years already, and they never faced the real world, let alone faced any conflict. So they've already been told and trained how to think and what to think without any discourse or free will, let alone they are trained into becoming more stupid, naive, and thinking that any disagreement that is against the message is racist or whatever phobic. So if these people are trained to infest the video game industry with soul-destroying narratives and why straight men are evil, then eventually Ubisoft will let them run rampant in other video game studios. Then you have a factory or a cult that is manufacturing all these cardboard cutouts that do not dare to think for themselves, and the message is more important than making great product. As we have seen now in the past 2 years, how's it going for Ubisoft? Oh snap, Ubisoft is in quicksand right now. Why am I not surprised? So what is this obsession in trying to get more women, LGBTQ and marginalised people, God I hate that word, into the video game industry so bad and quickly as possible? I want to show you a clip in my previous video. These are the girl boss feminist programmers who made video games for girls for PC in the 90s and 2000s. What happened? Well, I'll show you. But listen carefully at what they had to say, and especially why they were gatekept from the console market.
And I would go into our developers and say, how many women do you have working here? And they would inevitably, they would say, our receptionist is a woman.
Yeah, there's 2 over in
Our
marketing.
marketing person
Yeah.
is a
Our
woman.
security guard.
And I would say, your marketing person, I'm like, is your marketing CMO like the top? Oh no, it's our junior marketing person.
Yeah.
She's really cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, our company was 80% female, and if I could have bottled and sold all the drama that went on in that company between women, I'd be rich now.
That was big.
But then Mattel decided we were going to be on a game console.
And it worked.
It sort of worked. It did. It just, one of the things I was asked to do in 97, 98 was to actually speak at Sony and to talk about the PlayStation and talk about doing some girls' projects. And I gave a speech about hair play and makeup play. You can imagine how well that went over. And I was literally told, never come back here again. Never, ever come back here again. We don't want to hear about hair play. And I'm like, it's going to look so awesome on this engine. And they're like, we don't need any of that. Please leave.
Oh my God, just and look, I did this. I consulted for Sony on girls the same year you did.
That's so funny.
And they were just like,
Yeah.
Dicking around.
And then
we pitched to Sony.
Everybody.
We all get kicked out. That's awesome.
I sat across the table from him, and he was on the phone closing a multi-million-dollar licensing deal with us sitting there in the office. And then he put the phone down, and he looked at me, and he said, "Games for girls, huh?" And I said, "Yes, sir, that's what we're doing." And we started into the pitch. He says, "What can you give me for $150,000? And I was like,
man.
Not much.
Punch in the nose, right?
Yeah, $150,000.
Okay. Well, after funding 4 years of research to the tune of about $8 million, Paul Allen of Interval Research came to see our first web demo. And he sat there and he said, "Wow, that's cool. Can you do that for boys?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding? Have you paid no attention at all?" It was very special.
Yeah, there were a lot of those meetings. I started doing the Barbie movies. I became an independent producer and then was working on the movies. And then I went and looked again at the games group. And I don't know what happened to all the girls. It was like, we did this and I thought, oh, from now on, there's going to be tons of games for girls. And it was gone. By 2006,
Yep.
there were no, went into THQ and pitched All-Star Cheer Squad. So my thing was also about the we and how I was seeing girls on it. I'm like, it's time to do it again. Let's just do it again. And then we did it, and then the financial crisis happened. And again, I was like, but that doesn't matter. They'll still be girls. They're still not girls.
Yeah, there was no market for it, and a lot of women/girls were not interested in video game development or video games as a whole. That was the reality. That is what the market and the audience have said. But come on, Wilksy, from 2014 has been an increase in women and girls playing video games now. And I say you are correct, thanks to more accessibility. But is it a massive increase that would change the market and beat the main demographic, which is white straight males? The answer is no. And no, Sims, Animal Crossing and mobile games like Candy Crush and Raw Match do not count. But what about video game development? Well, the people who happen to be women or happen to be of a different sexuality, who have the merit and the talent and give the audience what they want and are not DEI or activist hires, those numbers again are very small. And let's say there are more women than men playing and developing video games and can make the money without BlackRock's interference. Why do they need to floor it on the hiring fast car pedal, but men are not allowed to join in the fun? You see, it makes no sense at all, and we're going around in circles in this. And this campaign to get more women, let alone those uninterested in the profession, is nothing but a dream. It's impossible. So if that's the case, how on earth are video game companies going to meet these insane DEI quotas and get a lot more, and I mean a lot more, women, non-white males and LGBTQ in their companies? Well, let's see what Rocksteady Studios have been doing in the past up until now to find the solution. So hold on to your chair because we're going down a rabbit hole and all of you are going to get a ringside seat on this one. So let's take a look what they've been doing, let alone funding. When we joined the Raise the Game pledge in 2021, we spent time talking about our team to understand how we can make diversity and inclusion better, both at Rocksteady and within the wider games industry. One of the biggest themes that we have heard back from our staff was to make meaningful partnerships with organisations that support people from underrepresented backgrounds. We also pledged to demonstrate our commitment and support for our actions. As part of that commitment, we piloted various projects with our team this year. So within Rocksteady, it's already been infested. So the activists got the staff that they wanted and they got the feedback that they wanted so they can give it back to the investors and stockholders to make them believe that this vision was working. So let's see what Code Coven say. Our mission: to alleviate marginalised voices and increase representation at all levels within the games and creative technology industries, both on and off screen. Our vision: we aim to turn the tide in an industry that historically has been associated with toxicity and homogeneity, and move it towards being a more diverse, inclusive and equitable place to be on and off screen. Our action: we do this by setting an example for positive collaboration and best practices, sharing it with a wider industry and supporting marginalised game developers at both enter and thrive as leaders in the games industry. And lucky here, they worked with Epic Games, Riot Games, Square Enix, Xbox, Niantic, and of course, Rocksteady. So yep, this is another sweet baby Inc themselves that's poisoning the gaming river. But what does Limit Break have to say in their new mentorship program of their own?
Hi, I am Anissa Sanusi, the founder of Limit Break.
Yep, pronouns, so we already know she's part of the cult.
In this video, we will give you a detailed breakdown of Limit Break, what we are and how we work. So please get comfortable and we hope you enjoy. What is Limit Break? We are Limit Break Mentorship, and we're a mentorship program aimed at marginalized people working in the UK games industry. We are a group of industry folks volunteering our time to create a platform for mentors and mentees to find each other and help match mentees to mentors. We also provide resources and training and run events for 6 months of the year, starting from spring. Each year is a new cohort with new mentors and mentees and events. So if you signed up for 1 year, you'll need to re-register again in the next year.
Oh, so the qualification is never ending and it has to be renewed every year. Like fire safety or data protection. At least those courses are actually useful in life than this crap.
We are open for applications every April. Joining as a mentee. If you'd like to join us as a mentee, you need to be currently living in the UK or Republic of Ireland, be part of one or more of the marginalized groups we cover, which are women, trans or non-binary or gender non-conforming people, lesbian or gay or bi or queer people, people who fall under person of color or minority ethnic groups, neurodivergent, and disabled person. As a side note, we don't need proof of any disabilities or neurodiversity and function on an honesty basis.
And again, you can identify with no proof. But again, they are themselves are too scared to offend people with truth and logic, as well as cheating on those DEI quotas that they can never meet. Oh, and sorry white straight males, you're not invited because apparently these people are stuck in the past that they themselves never lived, only told. By the way, she did say you had to be living in the UK or Republic of Ireland. What is the highest demographic when it comes to race and sexuality in the UK? Oh right, white and straight. So this mentorship is fucked up from the start.
Last but not least, prior games industry experience is not needed. However, if you are a student, we only accept postgraduate students or if you're currently on work experience or an internship. Undergraduate seeking to
have to be in college or university, who would have guessed? I'm not going to go through the rest because it just tells you about the mentors and mentees. We call each other once a week to see how they're both doing. It sounds like a good program, but again, it's run by idiots. Unfortunately, you have to be or currently in indoctrination camp. The biggest demographic and sexuality in the UK is not welcome, but apparently you can counteract that by self-diagnosing that you have a disability or falsely proclaiming that you are gay, bi, trans or non-binary.
Don't tell me you're all Ashley!
And you wonder why the West is turning into the world's largest mental asylum. So let's see OMG out making games say. By empowering and uniting the community, we can act as one to voice to push for real change in the board games industry across Europe and the UK. James Dodd, OMG Chair. OMG is a non-profit organisation empowering LGBTQ professionals within the games industry. We strive to create a more inclusive and diverse gaming landscape through programs, partnerships, events, education, and advocacy, fostering a community where everyone's identity is celebrated and their contributions are valued. Join us in shaping a gaming industry where diversity thrives. Whether you're seeking community, able to sponsor our mission, or want to learn more about our impact, your support makes a world of difference. Visit our sponsorship page to see how, together, we can champion LGBTQ voices and promote mental health awareness in gaming. Again, stuff gaming companies don't need to focus on and just waste their money. So what events do they have? Anything to benefit the video game industry? Pride Month 2024, International Day Against Homophobia, Biophobia and Transphobia 2024, Lesbian Visibility Week 2024, GLAD, the State of LGBT Inclusion in Video Games Report, LGBT History Month 2024, become an OMG Sponsorship Manager. Oh, Rocksteady Studios renews OMG Silver Sponsorship, Xbox and the Rise the Game Diversity Pledge, Gender and Language in Video Games, Q&A with Dr. Fraser, Heritage. Anything to benefit the video game industry? Nope, absolutely nothing that will help a company make money. The purpose of Women in Games is to build a fair, equal and safe environment empowering girls and women in the global gaming ecosystem. Our mission is to create new platforms, pathways and synergies which foster opportunities that empower girls and women in the global gaming sector. Women in games will bring together agents of change, allies, men and boys, champions, experts, grassroots organisations and others for new dialogues focused on shared solutions towards fairness and equality for all. By investing in women and girls, we will be instrumental in influencing positive societal change with significant benefits for the gaming sector. And they say there's no work agenda and there's no women empowerment manifesto. Well, they said this right here. The Women in Games Manifesto. Who are we? Women in Games is a non-profit organisation with a global reach and impact based in the UK, working to build a fair playing field for women and girls in games and esports. In addition to our core team, we work with our Women in Games corporate, individual and education ambassadors and numerous impact partners to achieve a shared vision of fairness and gender equality in the games industry. Our women first approach is inspired by our respect for the diversity of women's needs and priorities across cultural and geographical boundaries. 110 years ago, women suffragettes in the UK published their manifesto, 14 Reasons for Supporting Women's Suffrage. More than a century later, women may have the right to vote, but there is still so much to be done to bring about fairness for women. Women in Games follows in their footsteps in this manifesto. 14 reasons for supporting women in games. 1. Because women have long been marginalised in the games industry, and it is past time to take action and create a fair playing field. 2. Because women's economic equality is good for business. UN 2023. Oh, so the UN have been involved in this now as well. Why am I not surprised? 3. Advocating through collaboration and communication are fundamental tools in the struggle to eliminate discrimination. 4. Because all women working in the industry deserve to be fairly treated at all levels, from content creation to lead development teams, and from junior to senior management. 5. Because equal pay for all means equal pay for women, again with the university propaganda. 6. Because in order to make the games industry a place of fair play, we must foster an environment in which everyone belongs. 7. Because to aspire to be a fair reflection of the whole world, games must fairly reflect the world's whole population. And again, that's why we tell these people, video games are not real. They do not reflect the real world. It's like I said, whoever writes this stuff, I'm very sorry, you haven't played one, you're lying. 8. Because sexism and harassment are a scourge on the face of the games industry, and it all falls to everyone, particularly leaders, to ensure the health, safety and well-being of women. But what about men? Because it happens to them as well. 9. Because toxic gaming environments prevent women from participating in civilized communities of play. Again, this person has not played a video game, let alone has not gone into a community. 10. Because women's life experiences and professional expertise are widely diverse, bringing more initiative ideas, developing better games and richer, more vibrant creative culture for everyone. 11. Because in order to achieve fairness, the tangible barriers that prevent women from entering the games industry must be removed. 12. Because embracing gender equality and diversity in games and the games industry will bring about a sustainable future. 13. Because education, training and professional development for girls and women are essential to bring about a fair playing field. And 14. Because to summarise all of these reasons, a fair playing field benefits all. And I'm now actually depressed after reading all of this. Because again, this is written by someone who has never played a video game, let alone has gone to a convention. But ultimately, all of this can be slammed and slashed and cut into ribbons the moment someone, or should I say a woman or a girl, buys a gaming console. We can see in these 14 reasons, it says toxicity a lot. So of course, this is just to scare women and to turn them into Karens.
You impressed me with your interview, which has been far and away the best we've had all week, but also your CV and your massive...
What, tits? My massive tits? Is that what you were going to say? my wobbly jubblies, my bazookas, my tits. See this thing a foot above my cleavage? It's got a brain in it, experience, intelligence. But no, it's all tits, tits, titty, tits, tits for you, isn't it? You shallow, evil bastard.
I was going to say enthusiasm. Your massive enthusiasm.
Oh.
You have to force behaviors.
Yeah, true goal gamers will know they're going to get some kind of toxicity because I know men are going to get it as well. But instead of being victims or Karens, they just bounce back, especially if they know the other person is bantering or joking and not take it seriously. But again, in this article, it's just to create the unnecessary divide and boogeymen. So looking at everything back from 2022 to now that has come out of the gates of the DEI hell, when Project Rise bootcamp was announced, you think this is all a coincidence? Do you see the pattern now? So these video game companies are the very ones forming these narratives of guilt-tripping women to believe if we don't get our foot into the door now, we're not going to have this opportunity again. We need to stomp out the misogyny and toxicity right now, and if other women are not interested, then you're letting the side down, as well as crafting the next incoming developers to meet these insane BlackRock and Vanguard quotas to meet. So these boot camps are not for teaching people new skills like coding, art designs, looking at past managers or art designers and their legacies and how the market works. No, it's to reinforce all these useless DEI lies and gender equality bullshit programming that these people have learnt in colleges and universities that has been infected into their minds. Think of these boot camps as part of the upgrade for that, just to make sure they think exactly the same, have no soul, and too scared to think for themselves. So no wonder they want people from colleges and universities and not people who have faced the outside world. They have already been moulded into compliant foot soldiers that don't have a millimetre of discourse in their souls. So the mentors and allies in the program is to make sure they're in check and they don't step out of line and no ounce of disagreement comes to the surface. To hit this point home, why you should not hire activists to promote or make your products, leading to the company's own self-destruction in a heartbeat. Let's take a look at two famous companies that did this and what the consequences were. In 2019, in the Super Bowl commercial that Gillette had failed to get rid of because the internet is forever, you know, the boys will be boys advert that literally slagged off the male species and telling us that we can do better. So who directed this man bashing? Of course, it was a Karen activist, Kim Gehrig. What did Gillette do once they got the backlash and be boycotted? Pankaj Bahala, Gillette's brand director for North America, responded to the criticism of the ad in the journal, saying, "This is an important conversation happening, and as a company that encourages men to do their best, we feel compelled to both address it and take action of our own. We are taking a realistic look at what's happening today and aiming to inspire change by acknowledging the old saying, boys will be boys, is not an excuse." And here's a question to the director. How is slagging off your core audience going to sell more razors? I mean, that was the point of the commercial, right? Or is it that you just want to show the DEI overlords that you're being compliant? But what were the damages? Well, they lost $8 billion and men went straight to buying Harry's razors. So they did the modern day version of the classic 80s advert, Gillette, the best a man can get, very quickly to repair the damages. Luckily, but slowly, from 2023 to 2024 onwards, they managed to bounce back and learned that listening to men was actually the best strat after all. But unfortunately, the scars of having lost a dedicated audience are still there, and the lost revenue will be forever. So yeah, #MeToo movement was more important than money, apparently. But who could not forget the Bud Light boycott in 2023? Thinking that using attention whore Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson for a man's beer was a fantastic and outrageous idea. And how did that work out? Oh right, Bud Light lost $1.4 billion in sales in May 2023 at AB InBev's stock price fell by 20%. And whose bright idea was that? Well, it was Alyssa Heinerschneid, a feminist, aka another activist. But listen to the clip I'm about to show you how much of a child this person really is. And by the way, she's probably in her 40s now.
I have this amazing professional coach, and she said this thing to me, and she said, The number one indicator of your professional choices is your parents. And the number one indicator of your success in those choices is your choice of partner. And she said, for instance, and this is just a slight anecdote, but I think it's fascinating.
So as she's talking about her professional coach. It's someone she pays to tell her what to think, what beliefs to have, what is right, what is wrong. She's looking off camera to remember exactly what her professional coach, technically we should all call her handler, has told her.
My professional coach, her mother was a woman who always struggled with mental illness, grew up kind of in the 80s in the UK. Her dad was an African immigrant, both incredibly smart, but both had a ton of trouble ever realizing their potential because of mental illness and inveterate racism. And she was like, my whole life is devoted.
But you see how animated she is talking about her handler as if her handler is her. She has adopted her handler's persona as her own. So the beliefs of the handler, the wants of the handler, the history of the handler have now become hers. Her Southern upbringing, God-fearing Bible Belt of America has been washed out by her handler. Her body says, this is my new narrative, my new personality. It is very open. The hands are splayed open. This is her openness.
Inspired, was feeling empowered to sort of say, okay, there are certain things that are my mother or my parents, and there are certain things that are me.
And see how small she comes on that smallness.
And so one last thing, it's a great one. I listened to this fabulous Stanford psychologist talk about this personality myth. And she basically said, she's like, listen, there's this myth that.
So now she's gone up real big. She's going to put her feet in the chair. She's getting really comfortable for this part because she's talking about someone that she feels has more authority than she, a psychologist. Now, not that there's anything wrong with all psychologists, but as we know, it has been hijacked like everything else in this country. And because we already know that she's controlled by a handler, her speaking on a psychologist that she apparently holds great reverence for, considering she has put herself in a higher strength for this particular person she's about to speak about, says that they're probably not one of those good guys that uses science.
You are marrying or choosing a single person and their personality is static. Your personality changes your whole life, your whole life. Exogenous tragedies, big things, also day-to-day little things, the choices you make, the people you hang out with. And so I have come back as a touchstone again and again to this belief that we can change who we are. We're changing who we are every single day.
And there you have it. She admits it. Good for her. She doesn't recognize what she's admitting, but she admits it. It's her belief. And she's spreading the religion. We don't really need to watch more of that because we have just now figured out why she did what she did. Her handler told her to.
Shout outs to Body Language Ghost because she hit the nail on the head when putting the personification into the empty hollow husk. But ultimately, it proves that even though she has a PhD in business and marketing, she can't do the basics. She doesn't look on when Bud Light or even Budweiser was founded and how it became successful. She doesn't look at the core audience of the product or ask herself, why do these people buy and identify with this product? You know, the basics. Nope, her ideology and what her handler says must always come first. In the rest of the interview, she just says the brand is for frat boys and that's it, proving that her ideology is making her believe and tell her that. Because, I don't know, women drink it as well. But in her DI religion, apparently frat boys are a problem, things need to change. That's what she said, things need to change. She forgot the mission, she forgot why she was hired for this in the first place. And going back to the mentorship program, this is exactly that. These people have forgotten that the main purpose of a video game company is to sell video games and appease to their audience, not focus on social issues or focus on HR or whatnot. What they should be focusing on is gameplay, that's it. But this is what's happened now, they completely forgot that. No wonder they're in quicksand right now. And this is exactly what happened to Bud Light. Just one stupid action is what's costing them the business. So when the damages were done and in 2024, when Bud Light did their Super Bowl 2024 with the Bud Light Genie advert, did it bounce back? Did people start drinking the beer again and start liking the adverts? No, it hasn't. Things are still failing here on out. It's like Benjamin Franklin once said, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, but only one bad one to lose it. You're probably going to ask, why didn't anyone stop the crazy train before it hit the boulder? Why didn't anyone say, knowing that there will be boycotts and backlash? Again, it's either people were too scared to speak up, or they are flat out in the DEI cult. Showing their virtue to the DEI/Bridge 2.0 religion is more important than money. Again, these brands were supposed to advertise to a core audience to remind them to buy more of their products, but instead they gave them humiliation corn and a lecturing to, which made these people angry, and they went elsewhere as their identity has just gone through the woke mud. While we are currently living in this twilight zone right now, if there is no modern audience, if there's not enough women, marginalised people, or LGBTQ to meet these insane DEI quotas, and companies are so desperate to create it by self-destructing themselves, then why can't these companies just turn around and give DEI and BlackRock the middle finger? Well, because it's too late, and it's already infested with those DEI cult members, so companies are now stuck in this death spiral, and it's hard, or now impossible, to get out from it and recover.
I signed a permit allowing them to have their concert here. Their little festival should pump some money into our economy.
They're hippies, they don't have any money!
So if many companies carry on trying to give us the DEI slop, there is no other alternative, and we're starving for entertainment, then where else can we go when there's nothing left? Yep, no escape. Sounds depressing, doesn't it? Now, there is some good news. According to Banding Into Comics article, it seems that the AJ Investments, as a minority stockholder of Ubisoft, have met up with other minority stockholders. They are going to bring into practice European Union laws to put the brakes and eventually stop what Ubisoft has done, because they have lost 50% of their stocks in 1 year. And if AJ investors and other minority stockholders merge or sue their way to becoming the owners of Ubisoft, I guarantee you the Ubisoft indoctrination camps will be the first to go. And then comes the purge on the cockroach activists that have been infested all over the company. This is going to be very difficult and a long process, as the DEI hires are not going to give up without a fight. They're looking at suing companies under the claims of EU discrimination laws, so we shall see how far that goes, and I wish them the best and I hope they get the outcome that we want. And finally, hire people based on merit and focus on gameplay and art again. Anyone can be a video gamer, as long as I have a console, a game and a headset, then away you go and escape. But we are not cut from the same cloth. We are different, from ethnic backgrounds, culture, gender and sexuality, and that's what makes the experience spontaneous and addictive. Yes, there are going to be assholes online, nothing is perfect or safe on the web, let alone the real world, but we can still have fun, and that's the important thing. And if that's all, then why can't the video game companies give us that in the first place? In conclusion, this is what's been happening for years, and we see the self-destruction right in our faces. When it comes to video game studios and the video game slop they have created, instead of making handmade quality shit that the video game audience wants.
Yeah, well, this is handmade quality shit we're talking here.
And has been established for decades in order to get the almighty dollar bill yars. Nope, the message and the soul-destroying HRDI religion is more important, and it has to be burned into the product. And this is the consequences that we're dealing with right now, all because we didn't gatekeep or tell them a big fat no, and we should have voted with our wallets. So, if we hear buzzwords like diversity, inclusive, equality, neurodiverse, allies, mentors, mentees, safe spaces, representation, marginalised people out of these hollow husks' mouths in their sentences, or even in the video game description, yep, avoid them like the plague, because you're gonna be very disappointed and deflated. Oh, and make damn well sure they don't touch what you hold dear. This is Wuxy15, signing out.
That's it. Next time I start a gang, no women. Do you hear me? No women!